I think all of you may have, if you haven't noticed already, I sent you an email earlier today, and that email was just an example of the kind of thing that I would send out during the semester. And those of you that have already been teaching DE and OC courses, you know, you get that at the beginning of each semester. The email also included this handout, which I'm going to go over as quickly as I can because I don't want to get into the next person's time. It starts off with a mission statement of Rice Library's Distance Learning Services. And in simple words, we try to provide the same level of service for our distance education students and off-campus students as we do for our on-campus students. We're not quite there yet, but we're very close and we're working toward it. So, and that means not just the students, but also the faculty as well. I'm going to mention 10 things that we can do for you, and hope that you will take advantage of as much of it as possible. The first thing I would recommend that you do is to link to any of Rice Library's web pages that you find relevant and support your classes. For example, if you have students in other Indiana, in other locations in Indiana, there is a link to what am I not doing right here? Click, control click. There we go. There is a page on our website for links to other Indiana public libraries, academic libraries, and so forth. You might also want to click, especially if you have students from around the country. We have a web page that lists other virtual libraries and catalogs from all the states in the union, with the exception of Missouri and Wisconsin. So if you've got students spread out. This document here that I've sent out for many, many years, resources and services, it's just a Word document, 2 pages, very dull looking, has now been replaced. And I forgot to show this to the group yesterday, even though I promised them I would. This is my newly published, just this week, Distance Learning Services Research Guide. And so I would encourage you to embed that somewhere in your Blackboard site if you think it would be of use. And I don't know why
it's open.
Just didn't come out. Let's see. There we go. There we go. And this contains all the information that was in that 2-page document, and then perhaps a little bit more visually appealing format, and talks about the website, books, e-reserves, and so forth. So keep that in mind. And then this next page here is a PDF of which explains the levels of access that we provide for our services. I'm not going to go into this. It may seem a little complicated, but if they're looking for books and journals owned by Rice Library, here's how they would access them. If you're looking for print books that we own or not own, here's what the student would need to do to get access. And then, of course, print or microform journals or book chapters. If we own it, they can request it through interlibrary loan, even though we own it. And if we don't own it, they can request it through interlibrary loan. So the one limitation that we do not, level of service that we do not currently provide our distance education students is that we will not go to the shelf, pull a book off the shelf, put it in a bag, and mail it to them. That's what I've been wanting us to do for years and years now. I told our library director, and she's very much, told the last 2 library directors, in fact, and they've both been very much in favor of it. It's just, you know, not only the cost, but the staff. You know, I said, well, we're really doing for students at universities all over the country what we're not doing for our own students. Because if somebody at another university asks for a book from us, a student, we would send it to them through interlibrary loan. But we're not doing that for our own students. So there is a service. It's called CERCS, and I'm probably going to put out an email before the end of the semester to all the people that are currently teaching, where any student in the state of Indiana can go to their public library and request a book and get it. And they will have access to millions of books across the state of Indiana. So more on that to come. So, the next thing, of course, is communication from Rice Library. The email is an example. I've got a couple, just mentioned the email about search that I'm going to be sending out. I've got an email drafted about EasyBid. So I try to keep you up to date on what's happening in the library and hope that you in turn will communicate that to your students if it's something that's relevant to them. The next thing is electronic course reserves. How many of you use electronic course reserves? Okay. Denise, you do. Let me just show you. I can get pulled up here. You all know that course reserves are things that faculty members set aside in the library for their students to use. And it could be a test, it could be a study guide, it could be a video, a book, or whatever. But electronic course reserves are of two kinds. And they, again, are materials that a faculty member will set aside for their students. And they're in electronic format so that they're easily accessible for the distance education student. I mean, they don't have to be distance education students. People that are teaching face-to-face classes use electronic course reserves. I'm going to give you an example. This is from Katie Ellman. I use her because she always seems to have some that are of both kinds. This first one here, it's entitled Barriers to Effective Nutritional Care for Older Adults. And notice it's preceded by the code E-item, so you know it's an electronic item. And this one, the link says, click here to view database link. And so when you click on it, it will actually take you to the database where the article is located. And if you're on campus, you go right on in. If you're off campus, then you go to the MyUSI login page and get authenticated, and then you go move. So that's one kind. Let me go back here. Don't do the same thing I did yesterday. Got to back up here. And we'll look at another one here that she's got. This is a little bit different. The link was supposed to say restricted use must be enrolled in a course to access. Click here to view. But when you click, you get a login pop-up. And I should have checked this. I can't even remember what the name of the course is. Usually it's, let's try GERO 317, and then it's the course number, and then her last name in lowercase letters. Not always, but that's often what it is. Yep, that was right. So up comes this is a scanned electronic reserve. So there's two kinds. I don't know what this was scanned from, but looks like a book maybe. Anyway.
When you scan it, can you still select it? Can you select like the
text? It looks like, I don't know whether this is exactly what you mean.
Right. But no. I mean, I don't think it's doing it.
Yeah. Okay. It may not be like a rewritable PDF or.
Right.
All right, the next thing here, what's on next? We just saw some examples of durable links, but it's very easy to provide direct links to electronic books, reference works, journal articles, websites, and online videos within Blackboard. And here I've given you an example. Here's, Denise, I wasn't sure what the focus of your class is going to be. I know it's just an intro. Here's an encyclopedia that you could put in your course. Control. I think this comes from Credo, maybe. I'm not sure. No, this comes from Gale Virtual Reference Library. Encyclopedia of Sex and Gender, 2007 publication. It's actually a 4-volume, I think, encyclopedia. Yeah, 4 volumes to this encyclopedia. There's all kinds of things like this in the library's collections. The next one is an example of an electronic book. Joyce, I pulled this one out for your class.
I was thinking, you and I were like, is that just a coincidence? Wow, I'm impressed though.
I had Larissa send me all the names, emails, and courses. So that's a third edition, by the way. But and this is something to take note of. This is an e-library book, and it says your institution has unlimited access to this book, which is something to keep in mind, because if you give them a link to a book that there's one user at a time, you know, and they all wait until Thursday night before Friday when it's assignments to try to get into it, it'll be frustrating. But we have probably well over 100,000 or maybe even 200,000 ebooks that are unlimited simultaneous users. And a big part of the eBay books are that way. Not all of them, but many of them are. And then, Chad, I pulled this one out. This is an article, a dynamic relationship marketing. This comes from the Journal of Marketing. And it's just a direct link to this article from Business Source. Now Business Source Complete. We got upgraded from Business Source Premier. A fast internet connection in here, Florida. Faster sometimes than it's been in the library today. So now, one of the things, I might just mention this, you know, oftentimes what faculty members will do when they go into a database, they will copy that URL up in the browser window and embed that in Blackboard. And all of their on-campus students will probably get it. If they're off-campus students, they won't. So there is a technique for doing this, and if you're not familiar with it, just let me know and I can explain it to you real easily. I won't take the time to do it today, but it's oftentimes copying that URL and putting the library's proxy in front of it is good enough. But it sometimes won't work if you just grab the URL itself. So that's durable links. Let's go on here. The next thing is interlibrary loan. Especially if you're working with a group of students where you're going to expect them to do library research, where they need things that Rice Library doesn't have, providing them a link to the interlibrary loan research guide.
I use a question about the links that you show where we can have a link to an article directly. What do we need to know about the differences between that? And if we were to find it, download it ourselves, and then post the PDF on the Blackboard, what do we need to know about those?
The difference between it? Yeah. The difference is really a legal difference. When you download it and post it, you know, you're bypassing the functionality that's going to record or the copyright use of the item. If you go through the database vendor is tracking all of that and paying the fees to the copyright owners. Whereas if you download it, there's no record of it. And I mean, I think we could, if it was the case, I suppose we can come back and say, well, we've been subscribing to this. But to save yourself that hassle, to provide that durable link that's in the database itself, you know, you don't have to worry. It's just like if you were to link out to something that you point your students to something that's out on the web that might be copyrighted, but you're only pointing them to the page itself. You know,
okay. So I use them. There would be PDFs in the library I'd want to use, and the way I've thought about it, I know in our face-to-face class, we before would print out PDFs that we download from the library because we knew all the students in the class were from the library. Mm-hmm. So we knew we weren't giving access to someone who wouldn't have had access themselves. Mm-hmm. And so would it be more appropriate in an online case here that if I want students to read an article that is available through the library to work with a course reserve, e-course reserve of, say, 20 PDFs, mm-hmm. and then from Blackboard direct them off Blackboard to the library, or to get a link from the library that I can embed in Blackboard? You see what I'm saying? How can I do it to require the fewest clicks of a student? Thinking that a student could be in Ohio, they could be in Missouri, you know, they could be in Michigan, it could be anywhere.
Both techniques that you mentioned are possible. In other words, you could have a library create the durable link and make an e-reserve out of it, uh-huh. and then you could just point to that e-reserve.
Okay.
Or you could do it yourself. Let me show you with this article here called Dynamic Relationship Marketing. You can see I'm not very good without a mouse. That's it. Get it here. All right, and this one right here, this is an EBSCO database.
Yeah.
Here's the permalink right there. When you click on permalink, it should have come up, and it would have been in this box. That's where it normally is. This I would not copy that. The proxy is not even in that anywhere that I can see. Yeah.
What would the share button do? Would that be, or is that just
not
me
exactly
share on
sure. I
YouTube
don't think
instead
I've
of
ever
letting
clicked on
me-
that. Let's see if I can get that. Well, if I were in the database itself, I think that permalink would have come up.
Okay, if I were to log on through the database,
Yeah.
then I could get up, and then I could put the permalink just on Blackboard, and it would send, and that way, when they click on that, it would go to the library, so copyright would be paid through the library for every click onto that PDF.
That's right.
Okay.
Here is the permalink, right? By the way, I announced
You have it
that.
there. Okay.
It's
So that's what you did when you took this article for this.
I just embedded that permalink in the link or in the text, and students could do this for their work when they send it in to you. And I'm a big promoter of that too, where they could embed links in their documents, and you could go, oh well, I want to check on that, see what And
Now then, so then the student having rights to the library, would they have to be logged? They'd already be logged in through my USI, so they wouldn't have to log in again to go through the permalink. If I give them that permalink,
oh, okay, they probably will.
they probably will.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's right now. This is something I think they've been IT and our library systems people have been working on for many years. But if you're logged into Blackboard, you still have to log in to get into a database. I think if you're logged into our databases, you don't have to log into Blackboard. So it works one way, but not the other. And ideally, it should be a one login, but it's not yet. So, any other questions? All right. Next thing I wanted to talk about is research guides. Research guides are a valuable support to students getting started with library research. And I always emphasize with them, this is where you can start. It's not the end of research, it's the beginning. And I would have to be honest and say that most of our research guides are directed toward undergraduate courses. But we do have a lot of stuff for graduate students too. I'll show you. Well, let's look at the ones I've got here. This is an example of a research skill. If you're having your students do a literature reviews, this is a tutorial I've used in many, many classes over the years. It's been at North Carolina State University. I've even developed a viewer's guide so that they can listen to the literature review. And I have this embedded in some other research guides, political science and psychology, with some other supporting materials around it. But this is great if you're a good thing on literature reviews. And there's even one here on annotated bibliographies as well. Talked with a faculty member last week who was going to have her students do annotated bibliographies. Here's one on dental studies. It includes both dental hygiene and dental assisting. This is not really a course related, but it's probably pretty close.
These books that are on there, those are ones that the students would have access to at all times.
Not necessarily. Let's take a look at that again. And let's see, the electronic books, perhaps. Let's see. It says general collection. That's a print book. General. If there's any electronic books on here. Now here's selected ebook titles, nutrition and oral medicine. This comes from Springer Link. That would be 24/7, multiple simultaneous. All of these are free. eBury Academic should be 24/7, unlimited users. EBSCO Host, that's going to be one user at a time. This one right here. This one for eBury is probably going to be one user at a time. There's a difference between eBury and eBury Academic Complete. Academic Complete is usually multiple simultaneous users. So, but this is just a sampling, a smattering of what's available. This is not everything. And then we've given links to journals and databases and websites and so forth. That's that could be beefed up, it looks like. We go back over here and see what else we have. Physical education and exercise science. This is a subject-related one, Patty, you might think about. I mean, you'd have to look at it to see whether it's really supporting what you're doing. It starts off like many of them do with a RSS news feed, which I think is nice. It refreshes itself and so forth. There's lesson planning, audio visuals, ebooks, exercise science, sports science, reference books in those two categories as well. And then here, a quick guide to plagiarism. That's an online tutorial. I looked at that today. I'd seen it before, but it's been a long time. It's pretty clever. And then how to cite sources in APA style. I figured most of you would probably be using APA, but we have one on Chicago. We have one on Turabian, AMA. What else? Lots of others, a few others, CSE, and so forth. Okay. Embedded Librarian. Oh, I did want to show you. I'm going to show you this. I don't want to take too much time here, but I'm going to show you some research guides, sample research guides that we've worked on over the years in support of courses. I'll show you this one on revolutions. This was done with Casey Harrison's input. It's set up a little differently than many of the others. Most research guides, start off with reference books, ebooks, databases, websites, and so forth. But he set this one up, or we set it up together to follow different revolutions throughout history. We've got French Revolution and revolutions of 1848 and so forth. And what's a little bit different about this guide is that Casey asked to be a part of it. So he gets access to this guide and he can make his own changes to it. And that's a level of access that we can give you for a guide. Let's see here. The next one I wanted to show you was, this is a guide for the Master of Public Administration, and I want to sign in to show it to you. This guide is very different too, because the whole guide is for the program, not the course. There's a tab for every course in the program. But we only turn on the tabs that are for the courses that are being taught during this semester. So at the end of this semester, we'll turn them off and turn the ones on for next. And then the last one I want to show you here, since I am signed in, this has not even been published yet. Last spring when I made this presentation, Natasha Smith from engineering said she'd be interested in creating a guide. And let's see if I can find it here. I haven't looked at it in quite a few weeks. So, we've got, I showed you the one about the program, the whole Master of Public Administration program. We've got a lot of them that are course directed. But this one is different in that it is an assignment, one assignment in the course. And she and I have been working together. She has access to this as well. I've been adding to it. In fact, she's got most of the work, I'm afraid. But she's got her assignment, she's due dates and all of that, and then I've tried to add some resources that I think will help the students complete the assignment from the library itself. Many of these she recommended and so forth. So that's research guide. Any questions about that? All right. Embedded Librarian. I won't take your time to do this. I did this last spring. But I showed this group last spring where Joanne Arts and I, she's the liaison to the College of Nursing and Health Professions, and myself as a distance learning librarian have been embedded in a number of nursing and health professions courses, Blackboard site. And so we have a whole section of that Blackboard site, and we put in a lot of supporting materials for the students. And as you can see here, ideally, An embedded librarian is one who is a full participant in the class in both developing research assignments and engaging students' research-related questions through discussion boards, online tutorials, one-on-one assistance, and so forth. And that may be a level of service that you really don't feel like you need, but I wanted to let you know it was available if you wanted to work with either myself or the liaison librarian for your area. Reference services, you could provide your students with a link to our Contact Us page and give them my contact information as well. Instructional services, we have done over the years instruction for distance education courses, and we would be glad to try to do that for your course as well. I just, earlier this week, for Stella Ress in the history department, she has 2 online history courses, History 102 courses, but she also has a face-to-face. So she brought her face-to-face group in for an assignment. I taught her to the assignment. I helped provide library support for the assignment and did a Panopto recording while I was doing it. So she linked that to her other 2 courses. And so here's a link to where you can schedule a library instruction and also the guide. This is in the guide, but this is the entire guide. And there's a lot of other things in the guide, like our policies for doing instruction and some helps. So if you wanted to do the instruction yourself, you know, I mean, there'd be some things in there that you could, resources that you could draw upon to do your own instruction. And then, of course, course development, which is what you're doing right now. If it's somewhere along the line you'd like to sit down with a librarian who could speak to your assignment, say, well, here's something you might want to consider, or, you know, were you aware of this? You know, as I think about this, I don't know how you feel about it, but so much of this stuff, you know, if I didn't work with it every day, I wouldn't know it was there. And there's a lot of stuff that is there that I don't know is there. Mm-hmm. So until somebody asks me and I sort of start looking, you know, I'm surprised. But we don't expect anybody to know all of it, and that's why we're here, is to help you be aware and offer it as a possibility. So I'll stop at that. Thank you very much. And like I said, if I can help in any way, please let me know.
I do have a question.
Okay.
And I might be able to figure it out with some of the links that you gave us. I'm exploring like whether I'm going to require them to have a textbook or whether I'm going to just take bits and pieces maybe out of other textbooks. So how would that work if I choose to just take like a chapter of this one or a page of this one in terms of copyright? How can I link that or copy it? How can I display so I'm not violating copyright?
I think what I would do is I would work with Debbie Clark in our checkout. She's a circulation manager, especially if you need to have things scanned. I mean, you might be able to scan it yourself or whatever. But what we will do is, if we're going to put up a chapter or say multiple chapters out of a book, we'll buy that book. So we will have that in the collection. That is a little bit of a cushion as far as copyright is concerned. She probably will not, you know, let you scan a whole book or a significant part of it. But say if you were just wanting a single chapter out of one book and a single chapter out of another, you know, I think that would be permissible, and she would work with you on that, and then go up as a course reserve. And you can either, if it's a scanned item, then she's going to provide you with a username and password that you distribute to your students. And they can go and look for it on their own, or you can provide a link in your Blackboard course to it and then put the username and password right there beside it.
That was Debbie Clark?
Debbie Clark.
Okay. So similar question, and this is, we've taught, the class I'm teaching, we taught face-to-face, and I know for years, some of the PDFs, like of old chapters, I don't even know if those books are for sale anymore, we provided the students in class. Should we stop that in the face-to-face class? Like it would be like, you know, a faculty member has a copy of a book, like again, it might be like a first edition, there may not even be a late edition, it may not be in print anymore. Do we just have to stop using that material?
I wouldn't think so. You know, for one thing, I think that falls under fair use. Okay. But because in an online environment, you know, the level might be some little higher, simply because I always encourage faculty members to put somewhere in the Blackboard course that this is intended for the students in this class, and not further distribution is not permitted. So,
Well, what if it's an ebook, like that one that you pulled up on Concentrary Reading? I was like, that's my whole course right there. That's the point I'm trying to make. And it was one of those unlimited use books. Can we, could that be the textbook for my class?
sure, or a supplemental reading book or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Save my students $135. Yeah, because the book is, the text is really expensive and it's not that great, so.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, earlier this semester, right at the beginning of the semester, we'll always get students coming to the library looking for their textbooks, And the standard answer is that the library doesn't really collect textbooks. That's another thing we may do in the future. We talked about it this past week. Trying to help students. But anyway, this guy came up and we had 2 or 3, and one of them we had in print. So we went up and got it, but the other one we had electronically. And it was in one of these multiple simultaneous users kind of books. So he saved himself some money. I know there's an advantage to requiring students to buy a book if it's something you want them to have in their library. But if it's not, the information is going to get updated and it's not something that they need to preserve forever and ever. Dr. J.
I had similar, increasing number of students I see every semester, more textbooks, first couple of weeks. Technically first year.
Yeah.
Am I violating copyright laws? Made a PDF file, at least the first 2 chapters. Not everybody, but few students.
I don't think so.
Not the whole chapter,
falls
but
under
at least
fair
the
use.
chapter 1 until they got to wait to their order by online.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Or?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say for sure. I would
good
say
answer.
you'd have a good foundation to stand on there.
We'll visit you in jail.
Debbie once told me it was something like you couldn't copy more than 50% of the book. You can actually copy and distribute a significant portion of the text.
Well, I think it's more like 10%, but
That's what I heard.
yeah.
There was a law I took out of a book once because it was an older edition, and the article was just not in the newer edition. So
Yeah. There again,
yeah,
what I always recommend too is to seek permission from the copyright holder, and you might be surprised at how often you can get it just by asking. So, but I think it's more like 10%, but that's not in the law itself. That's like some guidelines.
Best practices.
Best
Yeah.
practices. So, any other questions?
and this maybe you can help me on that. So as you were talking, I pulled up like the digital one. Slide it for me. How do I go on here and search for ebooks? Like I know if I put book, paperback editions come up, but how do I see where are my ebook options? I'm not very technological. So like here's the selected, that couple that came up.
If you keep scrolling down, you have a search the catalog box. Yeah, you can do here.
And then how do I make sure it's just ebooks?
What I would do is I would do the search first, and then edit the search and limit it to just electronic books. Edit the search. Let's see. Let's do that same search in advanced. Applications to electronic books.
Oh no!
I didn't close too much stuff there.
We need the
Flash drive.
Yeah, the flash drive.
I guess I should.
Check. I think that's it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
so much, Phil. Oh yeah. Okay, so we're going to continue just with a short presentation about some of the collaboration strategies, how you pronounce that you can implement in your online course. And I think that is really important because the days that we live in, there's always like in the workplace collaboration. There's nobody can be an expert in everything, and it's really good to learn to use your own strength, and know everybody and how you can, work together to make something happen, right? And an example that I gave yesterday is like our team of instructional designers. We all have our different forces, right? So I know that Larissa is very good with organization, logistics, and she's like the go-to person for things like that. So she noticed details that, logistically we never would think about, but she does. So that is really good. And then you give Yuhan something, and she's so creative, and she whatever you did, she makes it so much better in a way that you never even thought about. You're like, oh wow, thank you. And I know that I'm very analytical, so I am a good decision maker because I can see, different points of view. But, and that's why we work really good together. We know our strengths, and, we have learned to do that. So that's something that I think is very important. It's one of the 21st century skills that has to be taught to our students. And don't think that because it's online, you won't be able to do it. We want to give the same opportunities to students, face-to-face and online. So what I'm going to do is just present some of the activities that you do regularly, maybe at work or in class, and let you kind of guess what tools in the online classroom you could do. But some of you might know already, so I don't know if that's going to be so much fun. I'm looking at you.
Are we making pasta again?
Yeah.
Making pasta.
Okay, so roundtable. The roundtable is, a form of academic discussion. I think it could be also in business setting. Participants agree on a specific topic, and they discuss and debate, and each person is given equal right to participate. So why do you think that would be? How could you do that in an online setting? I guess that's the question. And there's different ways.
You do the Zoom thing? Zoom thing, through Zoom?
Yeah. Yeah. You could do a discussion using Zoom. Yeah, you can use voice, right? You can use a voice, right? Yes. To have, a discussion. Yeah. And what else? Discussion board. Yeah. And one thing to think is like, whenever you create like the questions for your discussion, think about if you go to a roundtable discussion, what kind of questions you would ask, face to face. You won't come and say, please define this. That's not what you want in a roundtable discussion. You want them to really debate, to think critically, to solve an issue. So those are the kind of questions that you want to ask in a way that you can really engage them. And sometimes we complain that students don't participate, and we need to force them. But sometimes we also need to think about what questions we are asking them, and how can they relate that discussion topic with their own experience and share it. So a presentation, right? We're all familiar with that. An activity in which someone shows or describes or explains something to a group of people. That person has the stage usually, and questions usually are left to the end of the presentation. So how could you do that in the online environment? And again, there are different ways of doing that. And the ones that I have in mind are usually the ones that are already embedded in Blackboard. But there's many ways of doing it.
Well, that seems logical for VoiceThread to me.
Yes.
Can students make their own voice videos?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. So they can do their own presentation. Yeah.
I saw on here a handout you gave last time that for voice video chat, you could use VoiceThread. So could a student log in, say something on VoiceThread, and then receive a question from someone on VoiceThread, immediately respond? And does it keep running, or are these separate I mean, it would be the same as if they were on Skype or something.
I mean, it's not synchronous, like it's not real time, but whenever it plays chronologically, there you go, yes.
Can VoiceThread do things synchronously, like a?
No.
Okay.
No, that would be Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, what if you are not that concerned about the oral skills and you want them to present the topic? Kind of like an idea or something. So that's the idea of a blog.
I was going to say, I
Yes.
was going to say, a blog.
Yeah.
And they could, I like the idea of using a blog more than just a paper. I mean, they could do a paper, but with a blog you can add links and videos and other.
Yes, you can make it interactive. You
Yeah.
can ask them to add pictures, to be, very creative.
Yeah.
And that's a way also of, presenting an idea or explaining the topic. And that's how you can use blogs as well. Okay, so how about a work meeting? You all have been in a meeting where people get together, and by the end of it, you want to have like this final product, whatever that is. A proposal, a paper, a research plan, something. So how would you do that online? So what would be the tool?
I've never used it, but doesn't Blackboard have a group?
Yeah.
Can they communicate with each other?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, they can communicate with each other, but can they communicate in any other form besides just email?
Oh, yes.
Kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, yes. I think there's a chat, but I don't know if it's in the group option. I'll have to look. But they
discussion, so they could even have their own group or
Right.
discussion boards, their own discussion. You could share files.
Yeah.
So there's different options you can select when you select a group.
Okay. Anything else?
A wiki.
A wiki, yes. So that's the idea of a wiki, because you have a page or a space where students are going to be collaborating and doing something simultaneously. So there's no sending papers back and forth. We're all working on the same space. And by the end of that period of time, you're going to have this final product, whatever that is, whatever you want it to be, right? So that's the idea of a wiki, the same with a Google document, with the same with OneDrive now that has the same capability. So those are the things you want to think about. If you want, group work, if you want, peer review, wikis are excellent for that. So, just to give you an idea what things you can do here.
And Charlie, wasn't it your course where there was a wiki where they signed up for topics so they could look for a research paper? Is that right? No? Okay. Well, there was one where you can use it like something like that where everyone can have access to it and you want to see what everyone's doing a paper over or what presentation or about.
that discussion board.
Oh, okay. The discussion board.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want students to select a topic and not choose the same topic, you can put a table there and they can write their name next to the one that they want to,
So what ones are already taken?
Yeah. So for organization, scheduling, group work, that is just an excellent tool to use.
So could you do a wiki in groups? Like you set up a group and then each group has their separate wiki?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like,
Yeah, because you probably don't want the entire class working on the same document. Yeah, because then they can get mixed.
yeah, that's what a lot of my grad school work was through Blackboard. And before we did Google Docs or any of that, we did wikis.
Right.
And so it was like, I'm trying to remember what it was, different theories maybe. And so they had us, this group was going to talk about this theory. Who developed it? What are they known for? So we all kind of had their space, but we could look through everyone else's group to see what they came up with.
Yeah. I have a faculty last semester that did a study guide. So that each group would do, before an exam, they would put like questions and answers and they will create a study guide. And she would come back and, add feedback on that. So that's another way of using it. There's so many ways. We just need to, be creative and find what you want to do. Okay, and then journals. So journals, you just remember when you were, in elementary school and you have to keep a journal and then you give it to the teacher and the teacher would read it. It's just between you and the teacher. But, sometimes if you want to share your reflection or what you wrote, then you can share it, with the class. So that's the idea of the journals also on Blackboard. And I already gave you the answer because it's journals. So yeah, those are very good, to keep track of events and help them, to establish that relationship between what they are experiencing in life and what they're learning. I found really, when I grew my master's degree, I found a lot of value on, at the end of, there was usually a reflection at the end of the course where they ask you, to kind of like connect the dots and with your workplace and what you're doing. So I found it really helpful because sometimes you just go, and then you don't really, reflect on what you're doing. So, yeah, that would be why you would use the journals also on Blackboard. And it has the same capabilities.
Can the journals be, if they have a journal, do they have a grade function with journals? Some of them have the automatic, I can attach a rubric.
Yes.
Okay, and journals have that?
And to the weeklies and to the blog.
Okay.
And to the discussions too. Yeah. And all those collaborations do have the option to embed a rubric.
Okay.
So
Not voice turn.
I know. Don't hate me for that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Anything about that.
Yeah. Not yet. Okay, so that's all I had. Is any collaboration tools or activities that you use in your class that you want to share with the group?
I did one before I had thought about it this much. I wanted to have discussion in an online class, one-on-one, or in groups, and Skype worked well. I had the person that was in the UK, and he just, he sent me a time. I sent him my Skype, and we just Skyped, and that's how it went.
Yeah.
And he was fine with that because
Exactly.
it was free.
Yes.
When we didn't have to worry about cellular connection or anything.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So have that in mind. We all have Skype for Business. It's something that is embedded on the tools, the Microsoft tools. We have also, OneDrive and all the Microsoft 365 tools, which I think that we need to probably, encourage students also to be using. So, and they're really good for collaboration as well. Okay, so I'm gonna give the floor to Larissa.
All right. So, if you want to get out your handy-dandy little Surface Pros here, and go to, there we go. And log on to the Blackboard site, just so you can follow along and see where this information is. So we're on curriculum design, week 4, and we're going to be talking about the syllabus. So here it's, again, curriculum design, and then week 4, and it's the first thing that pops up. So what we've done, our office, because we're so amazing, others on the back, we've created a template for your syllabus. Now, you do not have to use this format. If you're very happy with your format, that's perfectly fine. You can copy and paste the information here onto yours, or if you like this one, you can copy and paste what you have from your previous syllabus onto this. I mean, there's no preference to the format, just mostly the content of what's in here. Because we've mentioned things about the Quality Matters peer review that will happen at the end of the semester. And what I did is I took liberty of going through and making sure all of our chunks are there. And essentially the first standard and the last couple of major standards for the Quality Matters review can be covered by putting this stuff on your syllabus. And so if you follow our syllabus template, we are giving you 33 out of 99 points.
Oh,
So, course description,
course, you need to put in that information here. But what are the objectives? And again, you can do this in whatever order you want. There's no preference over order, anything, just mostly like the Connecticut here. You can copy and paste that. We have our own USI Connecticut guidelines now that we hyperlinked before we hyperlinked to other universities, but now we've created our own. So it's now internal here. Communication expectations, 2 things here. When do students expect to receive feedback on their assignments within a week, or you can even say generally before the next assignment's due. I mean, we've seen that before. And then when will you respond to email? 24 hours, 48 hours, not on the weekend. So that way they know if I haven't responded to you or within 48 hours, assume I didn't get it, so send it again. That's one thing with communication expectations. Here's the course site overview. You can do screenshots of your course site here, or have people just simply explain where the information is found. So on the left-hand side menu, you'll find this tab, this tab, this tab. This is what's within those tabs. Just kind of a brief overview, because hopefully the syllabus is the very first thing that they see, right? So this Blackboard course site overview gives them a brief snapshot before they go everywhere else on Blackboard. And then course requirements. One thing here that is particularly important for your online courses is this technical requirements section. A reliable computer. We need to have high-speed wired internet. That's something that we recommend. Office 365 and all these hyperlinks are currently working. And headset and webcam. Now, if you don't do VoiceThread or Zoom in your class, you can choose to take that off or on. Again, you are free to modify this however you choose to do so. Minimum technical skills. This is nice to know. Saying, hey, you need to know how to upload assignments to Blackboard. That was a conversation we had yesterday about this faculty member had a junior who didn't know how to submit assignments on Blackboard. So just, think of those simple things. And even a statement here that says, for additional help with Blackboard, you can go to the tutorials on the menu or something along those lines. And you know how to navigate Blackboard, how to create a VoiceThread presentation. Just a brief outline. These are skills that I'm going to expect you to do. The online readiness assessment, this is something that's optional. Every student has access to this. It takes about 20 minutes for them to do. What this does is kind of analyzes if they're ready for online learning. And that's something every student has access to. If you don't use that, you can just delete this part. Up to you.
Yeah, and the good thing about that is that it would give them recommendations if they're not ready to take online courses and what things they can do to be ready to take online classes.
And then here in the assessment section, make sure you outline all the assessment activities within your course. Make sure you have a clearly defined grading method. We've also seen pie charts done before. That's a great, nice snapshot to say, oh, this final project is worth 20% of my grade. Discussions are worth 30% of my grade. I probably should do those things. So those are some things that we've seen done before. Make sure there's a clear relationship between points and percentages that you use for your class.
I like the table you have.
Oh, the table up here?
Great.
Yep, right here. And I know some, like nursing, sometimes those can be a little funky. So you can change those however that works. And of course, the diversity policy, participation rate assignment policy, those are up to you and of course. The rest of these are just simply copied and paste. So the academic dishonesty, diversity, disability, and then we have class withdrawal, and then the newly sexual assault and gender violence policy. We just have a link to that document and then contacting the students for additional information. Further on down, we have a couple ways to ask for support. The professors are not trained in technology, so, this is a time to send them elsewhere for their technological needs. So there's Blackboard support here, then there's Panopta support. Again, if you don't use Panopta in your class, you can just delete that section. Don't use Collaborate. Don't want to confuse your students, just delete it. The less changes, probably the better. And then here, VoiceThread support and Zoom are things that we support, that's the word. And then privacy policies and accessibility statements. This goes back to our website here. I don't know if that would work. But all the third-party tools that you will use in your course. So here's another technical support. But the privacy policies and accessibility statements for any third-party vendor that you use for your course, we link here. And that's just.
Or there's one that you use that you want us to add. Just,
Yeah. Let us know. And then the final section here is academic support services, the writing lab, math tutoring. You can don't use that. You can delete that part. Again, whatever works for you. APA guidelines, we just put that one because it's mostly used. Again, you can just refer to the Rice Library there. Then the research guides, which is what he was just talking about. The Counseling Center, disability, student grievances, exam drafting. Again, you can leave that there to it off. And then finally, the student handbook just kind of covers everything else that the students will need access to. So that's kind of a brief overview of what this document is that we developed for you to help you with your online course. Yes.
You may already have this.
Great.
They probably shouldn't ask this question. I don't have that turned off. So is there some place where you have listed what sections of this meet what criteria for quality matters?
I have it right there.
Okay, is that maybe something that we could get a copy of so that as we're going through the system, my fear is that I would delete something ahead of time and then I go up to the quality matters class and I realize, wait, that had to be there.
Right.
And it would just, anyway.
And that's one thing, before you do that, we encourage you to do a self-review. And then normally depending on how, I'm not sure how y'all do, but I'll kind of take a glimpse at it too, just to make sure that everything's all there. Because I know sometimes like communication expectations, you forget to put, oh wait, I will respond to email within 48 hours. So those are some things we'll go over right before the review.
All right.
But I can give you this. I highlighted it. I put next to what standard that needs to be. Yeah, I can make that
be nice.
Yeah, to upload that. And how many points those standards are worth and
Yeah. And actually, just to keep patting yourself on the back, thank you for doing that. But I know for me it would be helpful if you have other notes like that you're giving us things that you know are with quality matters. Any copies that you'd like to share, we'll pat you on the back.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Larissa, well, something else. You see, that there were like this yellow notes.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can delete those.
Yes.
Just like click on it because we've seen that sometimes people minimize them and they look like a tiny yellow dot. But yeah, you can delete them.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are just kind of helpful tips whenever you're filling out this section and kind of a reminder, this is the part you do. This is the part you do.
Yeah.
Everything else is copy and paste. And again, the verbiage is nothing official, so if you don't like what it says here about academic dishonesty, then you can write your own. It's just you make sure that everything links back to university policy.
Or if your department has statements that I want you to use.
Right. All right. So now we're moving on to what I like to think is the fun parts. So now we've thought about your course. Okay, we thought about assessments. We thought about the course event calendar. How we're going to put it all together now. The pretties. How to make it look nice on your Blackboard site. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of online courses. Don't worry, they're
Nobody.
they're nobodies. They're sample dummy courses that we created. So don't think we're going to like show example of your course.
I was already getting nervous, like my phone was Please don't let it be my class.
You're going to look at this first one. This has a brief snapshot. Take yourself into this perspective of the student and tell me what you would like, not like about this course. So here's the first one. There's a lot of links. A lot of links. So that's one thing you know. It's a lot of things on the front end and yeah. What else?
There's no real information on the
On this homepage.
Unused boxes or something,
Yes.
or like, what's all that clutter for?
Right. I look at this and I kind of get like anxious. Like, what do you mean
mean, there's to-dos, there's alerts, there's tasks already, and I just logged on to the course. What we recommend is if you use this homepage, it's great. If you don't, just get rid of it. You can hide it if you don't feel comfortable deleting it. But if you don't use a lot of these things, just delete it. Anything else?
I don't know where to start.
I like the print. Yeah, I like the color scheme.
It's
Like,
so funny. Yesterday, they were like, I don't like that. Yesterday, they hated this.
Yeah,
They
I
hated
know.
color.
I know.
I like that. We had the whole nap after, we were like, oh, I like the geometry, the triangles. So how do you have exported a course and then imported it? And then all of a sudden, your video just, yeah. If you notice here real quick, there's a tools here and a tools down there. So one thing you just have to make sure of that there's no duplicate. And the same thing, I think Yukon said, where do I start? If I was in this course, I'd be clicking here, I'd be clicking there, I'd be like, where are they supposed to go? Weekly units are down here. I mean, there's no real organization of what's going on the menu, plus what's on here. Excuse me, next one. What do you like, not like?
Well, it has the click here to begin.
Okay.
So you know where to start.
And that's probably where your syllabus would go. That's where your course calendar would go. I even had some faculty put their course alignment here. So students can click here and see, oh, this is the assignment I'm doing, and this is how it relates to the objectives of the course.
And I do like that your links, like I'm teaching one of the UNIV courses this semester, and I think some of schools just complaining about how different every instructor's Blackboard course is, and how, I mean, I don't give them that much sympathy because they have like 5 different forms of social media.
Right.
They handle that, but they can't
Right.
handle Blackboard.
Yeah, you're
right. But, you know, at the same time, it's like, I think that school is a lot more overwhelming for them, and especially so to see like that last page with all those links was just so overwhelming. This one I think is a lot better.
The less is more.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think for some people that green font could be kind of hard to read, depending on your screen. Like it's almost, there's not enough contrast between the print color and the background color.
Right.
So it depends on, like, I need new glasses, so
No,
it's kind of hard to read.
there's not much
things.
contrast.
Yeah.
Right. But we've seen this done before where there's weeks and you have everything lined out. We've seen it done by projects. We've seen it done by modules, by groups of weeks. So this is nice. And one thing that I never thought of before until I think just the last cohort, reordering the number. Because once you get to week 14, 15, you have to scroll all the way down. But if you start with week 16 and hide it, then the most current week stays at the top.
Actually, after I this one, that's what I do. I was going to say I do that now for my in-person courses too, and within each folder is like a screenshot of the syllabus for that week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that they can see the portion of the syllabus. So they don't even, I mean, they should look at the syllabus. They
Right.
don't need to because they can look, they can just go to the weekly assignments, click the week, and it's all right there.
You bring up a good point. I was going to mention a little bit later. A little bit of redundancy in an online course is never a bad thing. Never a bad thing. If you put the syllabus in the clicker to begin, or if you put it in week 1, like step 1, read the syllabus. Then that way you know that there's different ways for them to access the information. Or if you do decide to do a layout like this, where you can put the assignment within week 1, but then also have assignments over here where there's 2 different ways for me to get there.
And what I learned the hard way about that is to have one of them be a course lead,
Yes.
not because I didn't know about that little tool, and so like I changed my syllabus. Well, I forgot to upload the new syllabus to the whatever place I had it. But if you only have the document wrote in one place and all the other things are just like a dummy link to it.
Right. And that's one word of caution with that. We like course links, but anytime you export and import to a new course, sometimes those links they get lost in Blackboard space Well, it will point out to the initial shell where you develop the course. Because it's linking to that link.
Right.
And there's a lot of times just before you begin, just make sure your links work. Point thread, everything. Okay, and this next one. Now this is actually from a MOOC, a massive open online course. What are some things you like, dislike? Yes.
I personally, I like that the week 1, 2 is kind of over to the side and it's not so overwhelming all at once. I can pick. I like that.
I think one of the word of caution there is we don't want your mini course to be too long. So maybe if you have like modules, that would work, or you have like a 7 or 8 week format.
Yeah, if it's 16 weeks, then that would be too long. But if it's like 7 weeks, 5 weeks, then yeah.
And yes, I think Providers amazing. Was that you, Chad, that mentioned?
Yeah, I don't know why I hadn't used them before, because I never, it was relevant to me. Until I, no, yeah.
You have like chunky information and you
Yeah.
have everything up here, the course content down here, maybe tools and guides and helpful resources down here. Checking my grades. What about, okay, besides this, what about this? You guys think? Too many words. And I mean, you have to think about your target audience. Those be too many words for graduate class. But still, how nice would this be to put this on a video? For the first thing, we can assume this is the welcome, so this is the start here page, click here to begin, just to have a video so they can see your face right here.
Well, and isn't he the guru of all online learning? And he did this?
Yeah, I
remember.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just going to come to yoga. One of my online students, she's like, I've been here twice, I just realized you're my online. She has seen the lectures.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, you seem so familiar.
Okay, we have a couple more left. What do you think of this one? So this is within a week. So we saw the weekly format, but once you click on a week, then there's this. Anything you like, dislike? Maybe you might see or not.
It's pretty minimalist on the side. I have to say I do that for the week 1, so they see it on balance.
And again, they're thinking about your target learners here. If we're talking about running graduate class 2 things, you're talking about, well, it might be nice to say step 1, watch this first. Step 2, do the videos and readings next, just to kind of make sure that you know it's in chronological order here, there, chronological. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ask me.
And one thing too, a couple options too. So this is within a folder. We can also use the module option, which is what we use on our organization site, which forces them to do the introduction first and then do the reading second. Whereas this format, if it's more like, oh, I can jump down here to do the discussion, I could do this. What's nice about this is it's all right here. Whereas in the other one, the module format, there's a table of contents and then all the information slide by slide. The only thing there is with the VoiceThread integration, you have to click on that click to launch button in a module format. Just one of those.
Which, yeah.
As opposed to what would you do here?
Here they can just click on the link.
Okay.
But in a module, let's say the next slide's on VoiceThread, we have to click on a little button that says click to launch.
It's another step.
Yeah.
Okay.
It adds an extra step. But it organizes the content very well with like a little table of content. So it has the pros and cons. I'd say if you have a lot of content, that would be a good tool to use. But if you know that you can fit it on a folder and they don't need to scroll down that much, then put it on a folder. Yeah.
But some usability tips here. I've seen people get a little folder crazy. Like they just like the organization of it. So they'll put this within a folder, then that within a folder, then this within a folder. So then they have to click 5 or 6 times to get to the content. The ideal number is 3. no more than 3 clicks to get to where they're going. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer depending on how you chunk information together. So like here, they click on here, then they click one more time to get there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also the scrolling, try to keep as much on a page, minimize the scrolling part. We've had seen a couple faculty members at the menu, they copied and pasted so many times. It was like scrolling for days, trying to find information. Okay, last one. And this is for a 100 level class.
Like you said, step 1, step 2, step 3.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's helpful.
You have to say, I've used this format as well in the start here button and the step 1, step 2, step 3. And I had a student ask me once, where do I start?
Not your response. You're snacking, you're kidding me, right?
And then, go to the start here button.
Start here, step 1.
I think you should just let everything.
Yeah.
What did you ask?
Yes. The week 3-1, they don't even have those titles in there on the left. Like under the weekly units, those titles seem too wordy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
And then
week
when you
1
click on there.
intro, week 2 etiquette, maybe one-word titles,
Yeah.
or abbreviated titles. Week 5 communication.
Yeah.
Week 6 policy. Just so it all ends up, I don't know. It just seems wordy. Yeah.
Do you think for a 100 level class this is pretty good?
I like. Is this your class?
It's not my class.
Is it your class? I think your titles are too wordy. I like that it starts with a video. That seems so much more. I mean, that kind of it makes. I'm curious. I want to click on the button to play the video much more than I want to read. Right. Curtis's big long blurby warning.
Right.
You know.
Right.
If you want.
So yeah, confession, this is actually, this is our GEMS 199 course that we teach. It's just a 1 credit, 7-week course.
The grades link and the email link, I think, I forgot one year to put it on. Students reminded me. There's my grade link.
How do you put the check grades link on there? What do I click to add check grades link?
Very simple. I'll show you. So here, let's go back to Blackboard. So if you go to add here and tool link. And so you can name this like, check here for grades.
That's too wordy.
Yeah.
I'm happy with check grades.
Grades here, or check grades.
And
Check
then
grades. Exclamation point. Smiley face.
We can fix this so we can see what the students.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you need to
So-
select the tool
Yeah.
that says
It's
grade
right.
center or something like that. Or
Okay.
grade.
is it my grades? I see it there.
Yep, my grades. Click submit. Of course, this is on our course site.
Available users.
And then right now, that means it's not available. So you click on show link. So yeah, we have some stuff here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and delete that before I forget. Oh, and one other thing too, before I forget, let me go back to here. There's the toolbar right here. One thing that I was recommended to us from Blackboard, just because I think it's a pain for them, and I guess we'll work with Blackboard. This tool is one. If you don't like it, it's better to hide it than to delete it. Because it's harder once you delete it to access
the
back.
tools.
Right. And so once you click on this tool link, I don't know.
It's just the same thing you did, like
Oh,
my tool, tools and select.
Yeah, just hide it, yeah.
Never mind.
I had that
You can
conversation with
hide it.
Walter too, though, but it was Lance Wood. Because there was something, because I had hidden that tools button, it had something to do with I couldn't make my Panopto
Oh,
visible
Oh, that's
or
because you need
something.
to add a link for the synopsis.
Yeah.
right. You can add, but send email to the link too.
Yeah, if you add on the left bar the tools that you know that they're going to use, and then hide the tool links, and that will be one way of doing. Or right on the tool links, when you see like all those tools, you can hide the ones that you think they're not going to use, and then leave the ones open. The thing is like there's too many tools, right? It's kind of overwhelming. Yeah.
So just kind of points of reference or things to think about in the back of your mind whenever you're thinking about the navigation for your course. Make sure you have a clear starting point. It can say something like start here, begin here, welcome, click here first, you know, big blowing up signs like stars, twinkling, start here. Think from your student's perspective, keep in mind your audience, keeping it simple, you know, less is more. Remove anything that might distract you. We talked about the homepage, capture tools they won't be using. Short but descriptive, again, you know, maybe so they fit all within the menu tab there. And then also the number of tabs on the left menu. Categorize, you can use the subheaders, dividers within Blackboard there, and folders to organize your content. And organize your content in a similar sequence. Like you notice week 1 there was a video, we're using videos. So keep it the same pattern all the way throughout. That way there's no extra surprises. The assignments are always down at the bottom, or, you know, we don't want to confuse them because sometimes it's difficult enough apparently for them to begin and start here step 1. Next thing, think of a logical sequence. Again, with the videos, watch this first. That could be an intro, then do the content, and then do the assignment, you know, in the order that you would want them to do it in. Maybe different sizes and fonts, nothing too crazy, but maybe bolding some things, make them larger for whenever they're more important. Checking the information together into small, digestible pieces. Again, you know, that week 1 where there were videos and readings, it was nice to put all that into a separate folder just so it wasn't all long and it could be like, what this week? And then also, to-do lists are very nice. You can put that within the folder. This week you're going to read this, watch this, do this, submit this, collaborate, work with. Just so right within the folder they can see, oh, this is what I'm doing. Once they click on the folder, then they can see what all they're going to do there. Make your content easy to access. Again, what I mentioned, the ideal number is no more than 3 clicks. And then test your course content, navigation, or students and campus. Do usability testing. If you have a TA or someone, just give them access to your course and say, hey, can you find the syllabus? Hey, do you know how to submit assignment 1 here? Just to make sure, because sometimes we get so deep into the course, we kind of forget about, oh wait, does this really make sense? Right. That's probably one of the best ways to do that. So if we go back to week 4 in Blackboard here, there's some other information here within the Blackboard section. You can watch these videos in your own time, just kind of tips from Blackboard on your virtual design of your course, a couple videos there. And then here, this is something we recommend you to do, and actually we're going to give you have about 5-ish minutes left. Just kind of think about how you want your course to lay out. So you want to have the start here. What do you want in the start here? Welcome, the syllabus. Do you want technical requirements here, an icebreaker activity? Maybe that course link to week 1 within the start here page. So what do you want there? Okay, and next, maybe announcements. You want the course calendar, then the modules. What do you want within each module? An overview video. Just kind of think about it on paper first before you get into it, because I know that's kind of a trap I fall into. It's like, wait, is folders best? You go in, you put all the content into folders, and it's like, oh wait,
And then you have to
maybe modules are better. So you do everything out of it into modules, and you're like, maybe folders are better. Yeah. So maybe it's just week 1, figure out what you want to do with the content and everything, and then follow that same format all the way throughout. And then what else do you want here? So here's more examples here. This is all available to you on Blackboard. And then down here, this is just what I went over with everyone on the PowerPoint slide. So yeah, that's it for today. We have 5 minutes left. And so if you want to work on your course syllabus, if you want to work on your course navigation, I know a couple, Chad, we got your confidentiality agreement from the Quality Matters workshop. Good to go. And so Mandy and Zane will work with you and make sure we get that signed before moving today.
for the workshop next Thursday. And there's still open seats, so tell your colleagues about it, if they want to do it.